Hi, and welcome to the consoleagnostics.com LAN Party live podcast. This is episode number 9, and I'm your host, Richard McMillan. And tonight I'm joined by Rocket Jump Will Hamilton. Now, we've got a packed program for you this week, so we're going to get right into it. Now, first up, I'd like to start by saying a few words about esports and consoles in general. Esports seem to have. They've become a big thing with a lot of games now putting in a esports aspect. For instance, Evolve recently, uh, there's been the recent announcement by Gfinity of the tournament for $100,000. And I've just recently came into some information regarding what's going to be the first major European tournament for Call of Duty after this year's E3. Now, it's going to be held in Holland, and it's run by a website called glitch-live.nl. You can also get them on Facebook at facebook.com/glitch live, the glitch live. And that's for a €10,000 prize. And it's 4v4. Now, well, I understand, you personally think that esports are boring, but do you think in console gaming, esports have got uh, there's a niche to be filled there, because up till now it's really been a PC thing.
Um, I mean, the reason I'll start off with like the reason I don't like it's not so much that I don't like esports. It's just that I find it very difficult for myself just to sit and watch somebody else play a game. I mean, even at home, if my wife is playing games and stuff on one of the consoles, I've always got to be in there and say, you need to do this, you need to do that, and you're going this way and you're going that way. It's possible just my own. Obviously, it is just my own opinion because there is a massive following for esports. It's just I don't like having to sit and watch other people. I even have a hard time sitting watching Twitch channels or videos on YouTube unless the person who's actually playing has a personality that can hold my interest to it. So, I mean, I'm hoping that with the with the new consoles coming in and there being far more capability for esports to become something for them. Honestly, I couldn't tell you that it would be a big thing. I don't know whether or not it will be a big thing, but there is definitely a chance that there could be because like back 20 years ago, everybody wanted to be a football player. That was what you went out and played with your friends, and you practiced and you practiced until you got good enough where you could be picked up as a football player. Years before that, it was other sports, but now the world's moved on to a point playing games is possibly something you can make money from. So it's definitely an option for people these days where you can become a professional gamer. So I
Yeah.
mean, esports on console could be a big thing.
Would you say that it's something that, for a gamer like yourself and for myself who've played games for such a long time, do you think that it's something that we're going to be inevitably drawn to as players, not so much watching? I do agree with you. The watching them can be quite boring, especially if the person doesn't have, as you said, a personality that engages you. But maybe there's a room to be filled there for people who, commentary wise, call them professional
Aye.
esports commentators.
Well,
But then I
I
think that's got to be something they've got to have played the sport, to understand it. For instance, the MOBA games, for instance, Infinite Crisis,
mhm.
uh, things like that. You have to know the different moves that you can do, and you have to know all the different skill sets, all the characters, and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of research involved. But would you say that you would be drawn to esports as a player? If the right esport came along.
Well, it would obviously depend on my own skill level because I mean I'm a moderate player at best at most games. I'm not anything that could be considered an athlete when it comes to gaming. But I mean, I suppose it would depend on the game as well. I mean, obviously you can get the gist of a game like Call of Duty in a couple of hours worth of playing, but um, bigger games that require a lot more experience in playing before you can actually go and commentate on them. Again, like I say, it would depend on the amount of detail in the game or the amount of experience that you have of the game before you can commentate on it. I mean,
But
it's it's
would you
it's
say that
it's
these? Sorry, carry on.
No, I was going to go back to the footballing terminology there again.
Yeah,
It's not like old football players come from being like a player on the field and then go and commentate because they know the game inside out. It's not difficult to learn a game like that because there isn't that much to learn of the game.
yeah,
So
yeah.
esports would be a constantly moving goal because every time a new game comes out, you've got something completely different to learn.
Yeah, yeah, I see your point there. Yeah, I have to agree with that as well. Do you think these tournaments like Glitch Live and the Call of Duty World Championships and that, do you think there would be a big draw for competitive console players? I mean, for instance, the most recent Battlefield game, proper Battlefield game made by Dice, was Battlefield 4, and
Mhm.
it had the I think it was called Infuse. It was, basically you either blow things up or let things or stop things from being blown up when you're playing in
Right? Yeah.
a team of 5v5. Do
Hmm.
you think something like that is a big draw for competitive players? Because the group of players that I played the Battlefield games with, we spoke about it very briefly, and the general consensus among our group was no. It's been something that it didn't draw us in. It was just another aspect of the game. Uh, there was no real support for things like that, and I think that in the previous console generations, there hasn't really been any support or any thoughts along the lines of your massive online battle arenas. But I think that's changing with games like Smite. Now I've played Smite once or twice on the PC, and
Hmm.
I know that it's coming to Xbox One soon. And in fact, I think it might actually be there. Because you were able to tie from yesterday, you were able to tie your PC and your Xbox One accounts together through
Uh huh.
Smite. Uh, so I think it's already available on Xbox One, in certain territories, like like North America. And one of the fascinating things is, to me, consoles third person view is the perfect view for battle arena games. And console gaming, you don't get better third person games than on your consoles. Look at Grand Theft Auto 5. A year before it came out on a PC, it was remastered and out on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 because it
Hmm.
was designed for consoles. Now, a game like that, if you had a battle arena type mode built into the game, people would be attracted to that. People would, they would continuously play that. Even going by, things like Unreal Tournament, which is a massive battle arena game.
Hmm.
Uh,
I was going to mention that. I mean, obviously the probably the two biggest ones that I've ever played and seen played on any competitive level would be the Unreal games and the Quake games because they in my opinion they were the original arena games. They were the third persons and in some cases they were the first persons as well. So it really depends on your own play style. Because obviously with GTA 5 as well. Before just before the PC game was released, they also updated it so that you could play in first person view.
yes, yes,
So
because
it's, I mean, those kind of games, it's all down to the player themselves. I'm one of those players who, in GTA 5, for instance, I'll play third person. You get a lot of people who want to move to the first person and prefer that, but at the same time, a lot of the people who were playing third person before the patch were playing first person when they were driving, which is something I really, really don't like doing. I like to be able to see the entire car, especially in a game like GTA where everything's constantly moving. So I'll play with the camera as far away from the car as possible when I'm driving.
well, up
So it's
until the original release of Grand Theft Auto, I played every Grand Theft Auto game I played in the the behind the car view, when I
mhm,
was driving. But Grand Theft Auto 5 was the first game where I felt, I'd probably be more comfortable playing it in first person.
mhm,
And as you know, I like my racing games. Your Project Cars, your Drive Clubs, and I always
yep,
play them in the first person. It's actually the bumper view.
right,
Uh,
in
as
front of
they
the car
call
view
it.
then, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what.
I've always been one of those got to be behind the car view because I mean obviously some people like it. It's a more realistic feel when you're inside the car, but I mean I've always been one of the arcade racer type players rather than the sim types.
Yeah, well,
I've always liked
a game
being
like
able to see
Drive.
exactly how wide my car is so that I can get in between the spaces of other cars while I'm driving. So I can pinpoint just the space between two cars and be able to get through it. But it's not as easy when you're inside the car, so I find it really difficult to do that.
Yeah, well, like I says, I mean, it was only really the Grand Theft Auto games that I played in that view. Every
Mhm.
other racing game, it's always the bumper view.
Yeah.
Uh, and you were mentioning arcade racers, and as some of my listeners or some of the listeners will know, and as you yourself know, I live reviewed the Drive Club. This was before the major updates and they fixed the netcode and that sort of
Mhm.
thing. Live on Twitch one night, and that was my general conclusion. It is the perfect arcade racing game. So I mean, it would suit somebody like yourself. But
Yeah.
again, there are certain kind of games that immediately lend themselves to esports. For instance, racing games,
Yep.
because it's already based upon a sport. Your pool games, that sort of thing, where the esports comes into its own on PC as your MOBA and your grand scale battle games. Like for instance,
Mhm.
there's the new Total War Arena,
Right.
that sort of thing. Uh, I think the future for console gaming uh, will lie down the esports path, but perhaps not for another year or two. Will it be a massive thing where
Well, it very well may do, but it's not for lack of talent. I mean, I know thousands of gamers. I've met hundreds of thousands of gamers over the years. I've played on God knows how many games online against an uncountable amount of people. So I mean, there is definitely an amount of talent out there on console games that could easily fill the esports for consoles. It's just all dependent, I think, on the organisation of it. I mean, obviously, PC gaming has an already established kind of service for that. They've got a sector where companies pop up and say, right, we're going to have this. This will be our esport. This will be the competition. This is how much you can make from it. But I don't think it's as easy with consoles. Obviously, because just the number of players there would be. I mean, like for instance, me, you, and a handful of other people could make up a team tonight. We could start playing as a team tonight, but it's a lot, I think, more difficult to get a team together in that way and then move into a competition area where it comes to the point where we enter into competitions, because there are so many people playing on consoles and so many people who would quite happily join a team that it would drown a competition just having the amount of teams that would want to join.
yeah. What about maybe would it not be easier then on for consoles to have maybe a league type organisation like the ESL or MLG step in and say, right, we're going to go and speak to these successful companies who make these esport type games like Unreal, for
Mhm.
instance, and see what lessons we can learn from them that we can then bring across to console gaming.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah.
is. There is definitely. That was the point of my wee
Uh-huh.
speech.
Yeah. See,
Just
I
trying to get
definitely.
a company that's going to be able to stand in and be able to do that kind of thing for the console market. Just be there for the initial setup, because I mean there is obviously there is a want for it, and there is the ability in gamers themselves to be able to do this. It's just there is a need for a company that's got experience and the capability to set it up and keep it running in the way that it's supposed to be.
Fair enough. I have to agree with that there. They need to learn the lessons that have already been learned on the PC over a
Exactly.
period of time. And then they need to apply them or what they can to console gaming. And then hopefully over a period of time again, it will streamline into a working model
Mhm.
that, as what it's done. But for all we know, I mean, with E3 round the corner and this being the silly season for E3, but practically every game is going to have some esports aspect. I keep expecting to hear of EA have introduced, battle arena modes and things like that into
It would not
Battlefront.
surprise me. It would not surprise me any.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I
team
mean,
deathmatch in Jabba's palace, that sort of thing.
well, that's close to some of the stuff that I've been not so much hearing rumours of just people who would obviously with the Battlefront stuff being released like earlier on in the month or the end of last month. There isn't going to be any space battles, and I can
Yeah,
easily see with the way that EA deal. with games now, everything's about the money.
Yeah.
So I could quite easily see EA saying, right, the game will launch with absolutely no space battles, but here's some DLC.
Yes,
The
I've said
DLC will
that
be the
myself.
space battles, and that'll be your online competition type stuff.
Well,
That'll be your esports, all the star fighting.
that would actually make a really, really excellent esport. You know, I actually think that would be a brilliant esport, and
It
I,
would,
I
but I mean, it really depends on the way that it's handled as well. Because obviously, with Battlefront being a shooter, um, you need to balance that off when it comes to the space battle stuff. Because they tried it with Halo as well, and you really only get one mission where you're in a spaceship.
yeah,
And it's never been looked at since, and it's possible that the game just never introduced enough of it, and I think that's maybe why EA have possibly held off on it for the original, because I mean it's Star Wars. Star Wars is all about fighting on in space and big ship battles and all that kind of stuff, and they've completely taken a complete step back from it when it was in every other game.
yes. Battlefront 2 being the primary. I mean, Battlefront 2 had, I think it was 52 planets,
Hmm. Hmm.
plus the space battles, and
Yeah.
what the to the best of my knowledge, this one's going to have. Initially, it's going to start off with 8 worlds and no space battles. To me, that's madness.
It's a giant
Sheer
step back. It's a
madness.
giant step back for the series, but it's Star Wars in general. I mean, you speak to anybody who's ever even heard of Star Wars, they can name half a dozen different scenes from obviously half a dozen different movies. But I guarantee you, there'll not be a single person who doesn't mention either the trench run or at least one of the other Death Star
Well,
moments.
that's what I said in the previous episode. I believe the way they've got it planned is they've got 5 pieces of DLC. I believe the first piece of DLC, with the exception of the free DLC that's coming on November the 17th,
Hmm.
that's called the Battle of Juka, which is that's an integral battle that forms the background of episode 7, from what I've been told. Uh, that's coming free. And then after that, there's 4 other pieces of DLC. Now, knowing EA's formula, which is let's create half a game and then release the rest as DLC,
Aye.
I,
Aye,
I
it's,
think
it's, it's the money grabbing way that EA work now. I mean, even
I,
even on their free games on mobile phones and stuff, it's like, well, you can play this, but you'll play it very, very slowly unless you want to give us some money.
yes, I genuinely think that the first piece of DLC will be space battles. The Then they'll do a piece of DLC that will probably be in some way, shape, or form
Extra skins and
associated
new weapons.
or tied in with the Star Wars Rebels program.
Hmm.
Maybe the Ghost or
Well, they
something
did
like
they
that.
did keep that as canon for the movies as well, didn't
Yes, they
they?
did.
That's the only thing that they kept as canon. They get rid of almost
No,
everything else.
Clone Wars Rebels is the new show that's
Ah,
on
right, aye,
Disney.
aye.
Uh, so the Clone Wars show. So there's probably going to be Clone Wars DLC, Rebels DLC, DLC for the movies, for the original, for the prequel trilogy anyway. And I think my best guess is that the last piece of DLC will be in some way, shape, or form referencing either the old extended universe in some way, maybe just the planetary names, things like that,
Hmm.
or it's going to be something entirely new, a couple of planets, Geonosis, places like that. I don't
Yeah.
think there's going to be many planets released with the DLC. I
Right.
think that they've
Well,
confined
the
themselves to the
DLC as
first
well,
right
depending
entry.
on when they bring it out, could I mean the last of the DLC? We meet both you and myself played the Defiance game
Yes.
when it first released, which coincided a lot with the Defiance TV
TV
program.
show. Yes.
You see it a lot in media these days, obviously with the Avengers movies, the Captain America movies, the Agents of Shield TV show had at least a couple of episodes that coincided with movies that were coming out. So obviously they'd reference back to the Battle of New York for the Avengers, but almost half of the second season had to do with the what do you call it, the Winter Soldier movie,
Yes.
where obviously Captain America brought down Hydra. So a lot of the TV program had to do with um, the just the plot of the movie and stuff. So it was they were dealing with Hydra in their own way as well. So there could easily be, if Disney have got their head screwed on right about it, have told EA that some of the DLC has to coincide with the release of the movie at the end of the year.
Yeah, well,
So
well,
they
that's
could
what the
easily
Battle of
put something
Juka,
in there. Yeah,
the Battle of Juka, the free DLC that comes in November is a tie-in to
right.
uh, episode 7.
hmm
It's a definite tie-in. I actually think that the last piece of DLC will be Force powers. You know,
Would they do?
effectively to
I mean, you
return the
could you
Jedi.
could do that. You could basic force powers at that, because obviously at this point there's very little amount of Jedi left in the universe. So it doesn't even
Exactly.
have to be. It doesn't have to be Jedi either. It could be Sith.
Yes, yes, exactly, because they all use practically the same force powers.
Yeah,
But we're digressing. We could talk about Star Wars all
we
night.
could do that all night.
Yes, like I've mentioned a few times, E3's round the corner. So
Is
this is us entering the silly season for all the
yeah,
rumors.
for the games industry.
I keep expecting to hear, uh, I mean, E3 is the WrestleMania of the games industry. So
Pretty much.
I keep expecting to hear people saying, the main event's going to be Half-Life 3, because they
Oh,
say
there's
that
it
every.
is. There's rumours aplenty these days.
They
It's
say that
something
every
that
year.
never fails
I'm
to.
sure you've got some of this year's rumors for
Oh,
us.
there's rumours going about, but at the same time, you need to take a lot of them with a pinch of salt. I mean, every year you get the Half Life 3's coming, and the Fallout 4's coming, and this is coming, and that's coming, and you really need to take it with a pinch of salt, unless you have contacts in the industry where you can ask them and say, like, oh, behind closed doors type stuff, is this happening, or is there any rumblings of that happening? So the
Yes,
problem with that is you get these basement dwellers that they pop their heads out just before E3 every year, and they put a post on, like, 4chan or one of the other social network sites, and just
Reddit.
it's well, Reddit's always guilty of stuff like this. Um, Somebody will just pop up and say, "Oh, I've heard from this person who heard from that person that Fallout 4 is coming," and that's the last they'll say of it, and they'll let the entire internet explode over just this little bit of information. And it
Yeah,
happens a lot. I mean, even the developers, they get away with doing stuff like that as well. They're like, "Oh, this leaked," but it doesn't really leak because somebody got a screenshot and they posted it up here, and somebody else posted it there, and that's where it goes from. All
like
all
the Mass
someone's done
Effect
is
4
make a
announcement.
logo. Oh
The,
yeah, that was that.
the accidental. There's a
The accidental
screenshot.
leak. Yeah.
There's a
Oh,
bloody
we
screenshot.
really didn't mean to put it on social
Aye,
media. We meant to put it into a Dropbox. No, you didn't. You're just
no, you
trying to
didn't.
create some frenzy before E3 comes up, so that BioWare and EA will be one of the ones that I talked about.
Yeah, I mean, one of the rumors I heard about Mass Effect 4 before last year's E3 was that it was going to be called Rebirth,
Mm.
which
You
would be
wonder
a
you
more
wonder how many times they're going to bring Shepard back.
well. This one doesn't have Shepard in it.
Mm.
That's the thing. It's set in a totally new galaxy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the complete Mass Effect story, so I can't
No,
say
well,
if that.
we won't know the complete details until obviously they decide to send or to let them out into the public. So
Well, they kind of sort of did a couple of weeks ago. One of the, how these companies do the in-house surveys and
hmm
that sort of thing. Well,
right,
believe it or
yeah,
not,
I remember hearing about this one.
one of the guys, somebody put details in an in-house survey with about Mass Effect 4, and they gave specific information, saying it's set in a different
Yeah, if this
galaxy.
was, what would you feel out if this was to happen and that kind of thing, and someone
Yes.
leaked it?
Right. And the funny thing is, me, when I hear a story or something like that, I need to go and get it checked out. So
Yeah,
I go and get it checked out. It's not so much that I go and get it checked out; it's that uh,
yeah, you do
I
your
actually
own digging. You know your ways in and out of
yes,
the industry as well. You know where
there's
to check for things.
not just that. There's certain people that you can not so much ask outright, but you can throw them a curveball and they'll give you an answer that, while it's a curveball, you're both speaking the same language. So you know
Yeah,
what they're saying.
you know,
So
and they know. They can't tell you in so many words, but you can tell from what they have told you.
yes, and what I've found out since is that is the general gist there. Obviously, that wasn't as much detail as that guy had been told,
hmm
uh, but that was just to start, a feeding frenzy before E3. I do genuinely believe that companies are now seriously thinking about how can we draw attention to ourselves at E3. And you
Aye.
mentioned Fallout 4 earlier, and
I did.
in the last episode, myself and JJ, we were discussing Bethesda and the fact that they'd announced for the first time they were doing a conference. And recently, since the debacle of Silent Hills, more of which I'll be speaking about later, uh, but since the debacle, people have seem to have jumped onto the bandwagon, and they're now saying, this is a really big deal because if you look at the invite, the only person missing's Vault Boy, and
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
aye,
And from what I've
he's a
been
staple
told,
character from all the Fallout games.
yes, but from what I've been told, Fallout 4 is going to be announced at E3 this year. Fallout
Mhm.
4 is meant to be slated for a release later on this year.
Mhm.
I don't think it will be released this year. Thinking about it, I would say if they're prepared to announce it, it's at least 6 to 12 months away.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Easy.
at the end, I mean, Bethesda's they've not long got out of production when it comes. Well, obviously, it's been a while now, but Skyrim, they're also still working on the Elder Scrolls Online stuff, trying to get them on consoles,
Yes.
which I'm told is going to happen in the next few months. But
Well, the
let's be honest, it was supposed to happen this time last year, so
yes, the beta test happened on the PlayStation 4 last weekend.
yeah, the beta test seems to have went well as well. So
And
hopefully
we,
that's
we
going to
should
it.
have a we should actually have a report on the beta test probably in the next episode.
Mm-hmm. See,
But it's
unfortunately, I missed out in the beta test as well. I was like a day late for registering for it, so I completely missed it. And even though I'd went to my contacts in and out of Bethesda, like, nope, the codes
uh,
are all gone. There's nothing we can do. I'm like,
that
no,
was
I
me.
really wanted to
That
play
was
it.
myself. I signed up practically straight away. I just didn't get a code.
Still
But
missed it.
then I signed up practically straight away for Rocket League and got a code for that.
Mm.
And that's a really fun game to play. It's not a game that I would sit and play for hours and hours and hours and hours, but
See, the thing with Rocket League as well is um, this will probably only translate to UK listeners, but you remember the episode of Top Gear where they were all running about and I can't remember the type of cars, but they were all like small
uh,
4-door cars.
Toyota Igos and Ford
Toyota Igos,
Taurus. Yeah.
yeah, and the Foxes as well, something like that. But they
Yes.
were playing football with cars.
Yes.
That is basically when I first heard the premise for Rocket League, I thought it's exactly what that is.
Well, Rocket League's actually just a new name for an old game.
Mm.
It was originally released on PlayStation 3 as I think it was super powered, super jump powered rocket cars or something like that.
It
And
sounds very indie.
I was like, okay, Rocket League suits it a bit better. But I'm assuming, well, you've got plenty of rumors that people may have heard or may not have heard in
Hmm.
the run up to E3. You can.
Well, I do. I mean, I've got pages and pages of them. I mean, I'd written a lot of this down when you first asked me to join in for an episode of the podcast. So this a lot of this information that written down is about 2.5 weeks old. So there is quite a few of these uh, rumors and pop ups that I'd got from like my contacts in the gaming industry. A lot of them, or quite a few of them, has already been announced. So or at least suggested. So I mean, I'll start off with Nintendo if it's any easier for the listeners. Obviously, with the Legend of Zelda being delayed till next year, Star Fox probably going to be taking the centre stage for Nintendo. Because
Yeah, see,
obviously,
I heard that. I heard a rumor about not so much that they were going to show Star Fox or release it anytime soon or whatever, because this was last year. But I heard that, and it was just a rumor at the time. I can't. It wasn't Nintendo or anyone at Nintendo that told me this.
mhm.
But for want of a better word, it was in production at that time.
Yeah. Well, as far as I've been told as well, Star Fox is going to be coming out on the Wii U, obviously, and it will probably be playable at E3 as well. So I mean that's where Nintendo's center stage is going to be this year, because obviously Zelda isn't ready. If they're putting it back for another year, it's not ready. It doesn't mean that they won't have some kind of trailer to show off Zelda, because they've been working on it long enough that they can have something out. But Nintendo are constantly able to put they want to put a shine on everything before they show it off. They don't want half-made levels or really crappy graphics. They demand so much for their studios, that especially their first-party studios. They need to have everything in place and have it so polished before they show it off. Otherwise, they won't show it off.
Do you think that the lack of the, shall we say, the triple A titles, their own in-house games, your
Hmm.
Mario's, their Mario Karts, the Mario Parties, uh, the Zelda games, that sort of thing. Do you think that has actually been detrimental to Nintendo's success over the past couple of years? Because
Well,
I think,
I don't know so much about the games. I think it's because Nintendo have always tried to keep themselves as a family-friendly company. Whereas PlayStation and Xbox have always went about further afield when it comes to who they try to like which gamers they try to get on their consoles. They're quite happily going to punt out maybe 20, 30, 18 plus games a year for each of their consoles. And Nintendo have always been of the more of the persuasion where they want to have family friendly games. They want to have ones where all the family can enjoy it. So games like Star Fox and Mario and Yoshi's games and the Zelda games, etc., they've always been more aimed towards the younger members of family, where they're able to play them, but the adults can as well, and they can enjoy them in the same way.
aye,
So
the fun aspect,
I think
Nintendo.
it's well, they've always been for yeah, like exactly that. It's always been more for fun rather than actual gaming.
Yeah, well,
They don't
that's
really care about the hardcore gamers. It's never been the market that they've been trying to get into. They they just want to sell their consoles to gamers who want to have fun, and I think that's been more detrimental to them, because as the console generations have got on, games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, Gears of War, all those type of like games, they're the ones that are flooding the market. There are so many shooters, so many driving games, that it's difficult for Nintendo to compete with that kind of stuff, especially when they try to keep everything so closed in. Everything's behind closed doors until it's really ready, and it's difficult for them to get anything other than the hardcore Nintendo fans to buy their consoles. And I think that's the issue they're having, because they don't want to have a slew of. I mean, recent years they've done it. I mean, they brought Bayonetta 2 to it. They brought obviously Zombie U for the Wii U, Resident Evil games,
yeah.
but not much more than that. I mean, I think there's been a couple of Call of Duties on the Wii as well, or the Wii U, but they don't seem to want to. They don't really care. They don't think. Honestly, I don't think that they think that they're in the console war any longer. They just don't care.
Well, I
They're not
personally
having a
don't.
competition between Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo any longer. That competition stopped with the GameCube, as far as I'm concerned. After that, they just didn't care. They didn't want to be part of the console war. They just wanted to make their hardware, make their games, and make their money.
Well, I'm personally of the belief that there's no such thing as the console war, or if there is, it's carried on in the minds of what people term
Of the
fanboy
gamers.
gamers,
Aye.
right? I, personally, when the next gen consoles were announced, now, as you know, round about that was round about the same time that I first started writing for sites, but
Mhm.
Ramble Media and that.
Yep.
And the first article I ever did was about Destination PlayStation,
Right.
uh, which was on the 23rd of February 2013.
It's been a while.
Yes, it's been a while. And that was when the PlayStation 4 was going to be announced. Now, no one knew that at the time, and that was the first article I ever wrote where, there was a suspicion that they were going to announce the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
But after the E3 presentation for Microsoft in the same year, I made a decision on what console to get, and that was a PlayStation 4. Now, I'm not a PlayStation 4 fanboy. There's a lot of things I think that need to be improved with it.
Hmm.
You know, they're slowly but surely they're getting there. And I can't speak for the Xbox One because I don't have one and I've
Yeah.
never used one. But from what I've been reading and things like that, there's been plenty of mistakes. The thing is, E3, as I mentioned earlier, it's the WrestleMania for games. It's the WrestleMania for game companies, and it's the WrestleMania for these, the hardware companies.
Hmm.
Your Sony's, your Microsoft, your Nintendo, Toshiba, and all that stuff. Everybody thinks E3 seems to always be about video games. That's the only thing that
It's
makes
not.
headlines.
It's that. That's the
It's
thing. I
not.
mean, E3 is. I mean, it's obviously just an acronym for Electronics Entertainment Expo.
Yes.
Originally, E3's been about longer than the games industry has.
Yes, it was originally set up for new electronics devices, new
Yep.
TVs, and that to be shown off. Uh, it's where the Betamax and the VHS videotape, I believe both of them were announced at E3.
Yep. That's
The
right.
video recorders way back in the late 70s, early 80s. Uh, Especially Betamax. The Betamax tapes have been going since what 75, 76.
Hmm.
You know. Now the thing is, it makes because this is the big WrestleMania moment for them all, and it comes around every year. They have to keep topping what they've done
Yeah,
last year.
I mean, they spend the money every year to try and. It's not even so much to top themselves. They've just got to beat the other team. That's always been, and at least in the last 20 years, as far as I'm concerned, the last 20 years, Nintendo. Well, not even so much Nintendo, because Nintendo for me won it last year, just with sheer comedy value from the stuff that Nintendo had did last year. It was just so funny. But Microsoft and Sony, they are this is where their war is. This is how they spend the next year trying to prove to the gamers that they were the ones that people should have picked. They come out with their massive games. They'll convince the top game companies like Activision, who obviously do Call of Duty. And Call of Duty always, as far as I'm aware, always go with Microsoft when it comes to their presentation.
Well,
So
I
Call of
don't
Duty is always on the Microsoft stage.
I don't think they will be this year.
They may not be. They may not be because obviously, I mean, I've like you said there that you've got the PS4 but don't have the Xbox One.
Yes.
I always in the last 3 generations, I've always picked the Xbox first, primarily because of Halo. I'm a massive Halo fan, so I've always picked the console that plays Halo first. I always end up with both consoles or 3 consoles if you want to include the Nintendo ones, but I always end up with them all. But I mean, I can see where you're coming from when it comes to the PlayStation 4. I've actually been playing that more recently than my Xbox One, but not so much because of the games or anything that's wrong with the hardware. Just because I've got friends who have GTA 5 and I've got it on the PlayStation 4, and I've been having a lot of fun recently on that. So I've been making videos and all sorts of stuff. Just so it's been that console that I've been playing it on.
Yeah.
But um, what was I saying there? E3. E3 is always it's the battleground that the console makers they have that fight because they spend a massive amount of money every year giving it to um, game developers just so that they can have their games on their stage. But more recently, they've came to the point where they own quite a few of the studios. So the thing is now that they're spending the money on the big things like the presentation of stuff. Last year Nintendo had Ori, which is a kind of wee it's like a wee platformer where your
Yes.
characters looks made of light. But
Yes.
there's a part of the game like when I was obviously I couldn't make it to E3. I wish I could, but I was watching it on Spike TV like I do every year or every year that they've done it. And it seems as if they gave everybody these bracelets as they walked in, which were changing colour every time a new presentation came up for Xbox. But they were only it was only like a dull glow for each of them, and it was different colours and stuff. But when the Ori presentation was up, right at the end, the character looks to I think either die or go to sleep, and all these lights and like white flowers and stuff all sprout up round about it, and every single person in that presentation's bracelet glowed really, really bright white, and it was actually really the way they'd done it. But that's the kind of stuff that they're doing now. They're trying to one up each other with their presentations rather than just the games that they've got on stage.
Now, now I've got a theory, and E3 will prove whether I'm right or wrong.
Okay.
I genuinely believe that due to the mistakes that have been made by Xbox, since
Since
whatever,
E3 last year, yeah, or
since
the year
E3
before, sorry.
2013, I genuinely believe that their last roll of the dice is Halo 5.
Hmm. Well,
I
Halo
know a lot
5,
of
I mean,
people
they've
will
been putting a
say,
lot of money into Halo 5 recently with their advertising campaign, etc. But I mean, Halo 5's a staple for Xbox. The original Halo saved Xbox when they first released, because they didn't really have an ace in the hole until Halo was released, and Halo 1 and Halo 2 were what kept the Xbox brand above water. If it hadn't been for those games, if it hadn't been for the work that Bungie had put in for Microsoft, then I don't think the Xbox would even exist any longer. Sony would just be the console of choice because it would be the only console left.
eh, well, I don't know. I don't know so much. I do believe that Halo 5, it's either going to be the savior of Xbox, or it'll be blamed for its death. That's that's a genuine belief. That's
Mm,
not based on anything I've been told. That's not based on any figures. That's genuinely my opinion. Uh, they're putting that much into the. For those of you that don't know, the hashtag Hunt the Truth campaign.
hmm.
They're putting so much marketing into that. The TV adverts has got it. There's it's like the micro game on the website.
Yeah, the online game now you can use your smartphones with, and
Smartphone,
it needs to
like
be
your
four
PC.
people playing it at the same time for it to
Yeah,
work.
things like that. Uh, they're putting that much into it that if it isn't a success, it will be blamed for the death of Xbox,
Mm-hmm.
which will be unfair probably on Halo 5, and b unfair on the gamers to even do that, because what would be the death Xbox would be the disastrous decisions that have been made since day one. But
Exactly, exactly. I
my
mean, they
personal opinion.
at the same time though. I mean,
Is
when
that
they originally released, or when they first revealed Xbox One, they said that they were going to do a whole load of things, and as typically happens these days on the internet went off its nut. They weren't happy with certain things. Oh, you can't put DRM in because then we won't be able to get rid of the games that we don't want to play. And they they sacrificed a whole load of things, like the being able to share your game with a whole load of people. Like, you were going to get to choose 10 people to have on a special list, where if you owned a game and they didn't, they could play your copy of the game, which was exactly the same as being able to take your game and share it with your friends, like a physical copy.
the downside to the DRM thing, and this is what got a lot of people, is that there's a lot of money made every day in trade-ins, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
You know, if people pay like £60 for a game, if people are paying that much money, then they should have the right to decide whether or not they can then sell that game on. Once the company puts it out for sale, the company now no longer owns it.
Hmm. Well, that I mean,
That's my
that's
opinion.
publishers are quite happy for, well, we're quite happy for the DRM thing to be there, mostly because it meant trade-ins would probably die. I mean, publishers hate the fact that game and other companies do trade-ins, because when you take a game into a company, or like, we'll use Game for instance. If you take a game that you own into a game,
I
they
should,
give you some money for it.
if I can interrupt a wee second, well, I should just
Right.
say for our listeners overseas, not in the UK, Game is the UK's equivalent of GameStop.
Right, aye, GameStop. Well, obviously, aye, for GameStop for American listeners as well. But I mean, I can use either as an example there.
Yeah,
But if you take they probably do it in America as well. But I mean, a lot of gamers don't really know how this works. If you take a game that you've owned into one of these companies, they'll give you a certain amount of money.
And it is
But
currently a buyer's market, so it's nowhere
well, it
near
is a buyer's
what
market at the moment. Aye, they'll take it. They'll take pretty much anything, and they'll give you next to no money. But I mean, if we want, you can start it right at the life cycle of a game. Brand new game that you buy, say you spend £40 or $40 for this game. A percentage goes back to the publishers, so that they can put it towards paying the studio for the next installment. Say for Call of Duty. So if you buy a copy of Call of Duty, you're giving all this money to this shop, who then give a percentage back to the publishers and the developers, who use that money to start making the next game. But when you're finished with that game, you can take it back to this store, and they'll give you a certain amount of money back. So say if you're lucky, you're getting £20 back for it, right? So this game then belongs to the shop again, but they have absolutely no what would you call it? There's no money. What if they'll obviously put the game that they've bought from you back on the shelf to sell to another person, but they don't have to take. I mean, they could sell it for £40 again. There'd be absolutely no problem for them to do that. But the £40 that they make from a second-hand game is all their money. It doesn't get sent back to the publishers.
Yeah.
The publishers and the developers don't see any money from a second-hand game, and that's why trade-ins are hated. They're completely despised in the games industry because they don't make any money from them. So the DRM that they were going to put on Xbox was a massive thing for a lot of the publishers. I mean, obviously EA would have been happy with anything because they were getting an app on the dashboard, so they were going to make money regardless.
Yeah.
But at the same time, all the publishers were quite happy for DRM to be on the Xbox, because it meant that anybody who bought a game were getting to have that game, but they weren't going to be able to get rid of it, because that game was locked straight to your console. You couldn't use it anywhere else. You couldn't give your friend it. But the way Xbox were getting round that idea was so that we're giving you the 10 people on your friends list who were able to play the game along with you without buying the game themselves.
Yeah.
But it worked well in twofold, because there was a way. It was the chance for people to play the game without actually buying it as well. So they may actually have went out and bought a copy when they wouldn't have done before, because they have been able to have a go at the game without actually buying it.
Yeah, a similar system to the PlayStation 4's SharePlay.
Exactly. I mean, it's been rumoured as well that SharePlay came about after Xbox did their turnaround. So SharePlay was only added to PlayStation because Xbox backed out of it because of the DRM problems.
Well, I'm not 100% sure about that. I think SharePlay was announced at the same E3, and if I remember rightly, Sony's presentation that year was before Microsoft's. I could be wrong.
Aye, it's been a while. I mean, I'm not 100% sure on details any longer myself.
Things like that are all in the realms of conjecture anyway.
Aye.
With, like I said, with E3 round the corner, there's rumours, and one of the big rumours for Sony is obviously the conclusion to the story of Nathan Drake, the hero of the Uncharted series. I think
yeah, that's true.
They're going to actually finalise a release date at E3.
Well, it's been delayed to 2016 as far as I'm aware, but there is always a possibility that the Uncharted trilogy could fill the space that they've got. They've also Sony have also announced that the God of War trilogy remaster, the God of War 3 remaster, is going to be out as well. Which obviously gives the possibility of a God of War 4 game. As far as I'm aware as well, there has been a couple of rumours and a couple of images knocking about the internet over the past couple of days of a picture of Kratos. And I think it's the words, "I will have my revenge."
Yes, it is. I actually seen them today for the first time.
So that's either some starting advertising for the God of War 3 remaster, or possibly the God of War 4 game.
Well, that'll be interesting to see, especially if they announce God of War 4 and give us a full remaster collection.
Yeah, it would be good. I mean, I'd quite like to have the collection, obviously, because the God of War series has been spanning across now three, or possibly three different consoles. So it will be good to see them all in one pack.
Yeah, it
Um,
will. You know,
let's see what else have we got. I mean, I've got literally 4 or 5 pages worth of information here. So, I'll jump back to Nintendo just so I can get through them one at a time. Obviously, I think Mario Maker, which is coming out September this year. I think they'll be showing that off at the Nintendo presentation. And the Mario Maker
I
game
really like the
is,
idea. I really
I
like the
really,
idea
I
of Mario
really, I
Maker.
mean, before I became gaming press, like when I was young, back in the days of like 16-bit Nintendo, I really wanted to be a game designer. So I spent a lot of time with like a roll of backing paper, like for wallpapering. I spent a lot of time just drawing levels and stuff, coming up with ideas for games and that kind of thing. So to be able to take a
No,
game like Mario and be able to make all my own levels, that's a dream come true. 20 years after I'd decided I was wanting to do that kind of thing as a
yeah.
job.
Well, I've got the Unreal engine and that.
Mhm.
What I really need is a really good graphic designer to draw me some levels.
Well, there may be something. There may be something
Yeah,
I can help you with.
there. The the one thing that made me laugh the other day was the medieval pictures. I'm assuming you've seen them.
The medieval pictures.
Yes. Remember the medieval series,
Yes.
right? There was pictures of the protagonist, whose name for the moment escapes me. There was pictures of the protagonist standing with like a fiery background and things like that. And there was a couple of different pictures, and the
Right.
rumor going about was, "Oh, this is going to be shown
Oh,
at
that's the
E3."
PS4 demo.
Yes, and it wasn't.
Right.
It
That's
was actually
that's
just
that's
it
aye.
was
That's a
two
fan made
students using
thing.
the
Yeah.
Unreal Engine, and they just decided to create their own version of the game. I
Aye,
don't know where they
aye,
got the assets for it.
aye,
From, but
that was a fake. That was I remember hearing about that. It was
I thought
supposedly
that,
leaked as a PS4 demo, and it ended
yeah,
up not being.
I thought it was brilliant. It was two students. The worst thing is they actually well, it's not the worst thing, but they give the two guys their due. They actually apologised. They came out and says, "Look, we're really sorry. We weren't expecting this to happen. We just
You're just doing
I,
it for fun.
that was brilliant. You know what I mean? Only in the games industry could people apologise for doing something for themselves. Just brilliant, And I must say, I think that they're going to give us the release date of Uncharted 4, and they're going to tell us.
Well, I mean, like I said, I mean um, they've already pushed it back to
Yeah,
2016, but I mean, they may give a tentative Q1, Q2 launch title or a launch date. But it may get to the point where they push it back so far that they may just announce it at E3 next year and just say, right, it'll be, because I mean they've done it in the past. Xbox and PlayStation do these kind of,
yeah,
it'll be like available for sale like tomorrow.
yeah. I mean, it's just no one actually really knows. I mean, and your point about Mario Maker, that's always been something I've wanted to do as well. Just sit and
I think it's something for our
create a game.
generation, to be honest. I mean, we've all played through those games, and we thought,
Yeah.
oh, we could do this, and it looks so easy just to put this here and put that there and put that there and make
Oh,
an entire level.
I don't just mean like a platformer like the Mario games. I mean, I would. My wife's got a Wii U, so we'll probably end up getting Mario Maker because my wife she loves the Mario games. So being able
Mhm.
to actually create our own levels based on, I mean, she's played and completed every Mario Brothers game that you can get. Even
Yeah.
the ones that were on the Wii and things like that, the hard to get ones. I mean, we spent 6 months looking for the Mario collection for the
Hmm.
Wii, and we ended up getting it about a month after the Wii U came out. But it was my wife played and completed every one of the Mario games, so I'm sure she'll enjoy, being able to sit overnight and create her own levels and then
Hmm.
share them with people.
Aye.
And
Well, that seems to be something that's making a bit of rearing its head these days. I mean, obviously with the Little Big Planet games as well, there is a huge community of people who just make levels.
Yes.
You can download all these games, and it is literally just all the assets that these games already have, and people have put them into so many new new ways. They've just built brand new levels. I mean, as far as I've been told as well, I've never looked into it, but um, there's I think one person or a group of people who have made like a third of the Final Fantasy VII game in Little Big Planet.
Wow.
So
That, I mean,
there's, I
that's
mean, there's, there,
huge.
I mean, like the first disc. I mean, it's the entire run of Midgar and stuff, but as a platformer.
That's gigantic.
So I mean, that is something that's capable. I mean, if you can do it in a game like that, and Mario, obviously Mario Maker will just give you all the assets for a Mario game, and I don't know if it's going to be old Mario or all the Marios. So I mean, you could probably imagine the kind of worlds and levels that
Yeah.
people will be able to can create with a Wii U.
And
Obviously, with the fact that it being a touch screen as well, there's going to be like stuff built in minute detail where some people wouldn't even understand how it was built, but other people are just constantly making them.
yes. Yeah. Exactly. See, that's what I'm saying. The potential's just
Mm-hmm.
immense.
Aye,
It's
aye.
like I see the potential in Project Spark. You know,
Spark Spark has massive potential as well. I
yeah.
just think
See if,
because
and I know
because
that
of
you
the
can.
divide between Xbox and PlayStation at the moment, it's not getting the fair turn that it deserves.
And I know that you can create levels on a Little Big Planet and the Little
Mm-hmm.
Big Planet games, but they're limited. Whereas Project Spark, for what I've seen, and I'm not 100% sure about this, but from what I've seen, you can practically create. You can create like first-person shooters and like third-person Grand Theft Auto type open world games with it. That's
You
something that
can. There's, as far as I've been told as well, that Microsoft are planning on putting a lot of Microsoft characters in as well. I think
asset packs.
some of the Halo worlds or the Halo universe as well as Cortana and stuff are all being. It's still rumours as far as I'm aware, but I think that they're planning on putting a lot of them into the game so that you can make your own Halo universe as well.
Wow. That would be great. I mean, see if they could do something like that with PlayStation as well.
Hmm.
You know, because eventually you would have no need for developers.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's
Everybody would become an indie game
yeah.
designer.
Everybody could be indie as long as there's the software to help them.
Yes, exactly. And to a limited extent, I think this year's E3. I personally think this year's E3 is going to belong to the indie groups. I don't think.
It could be. It really could be. I mean,
I don't think.
looking at No Man's Sky last year, that's something that's easily accomplishable on the new console. So it's something that I think indie's going to come up in a big way this generation.
Yeah, that I definitely think that. Now the other thing is that there are other companies that maybe should have been at E3 that won't be.
Hmm.
For instance, Konami. They I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen with them with E3 now that they're
Well,
withdrawn for the New York Stock Exchange.
aye, aye.
You know, and
Um,
that leads me on to what I mentioned earlier on, with
well, see,
Silent Hills.
I think the New York Stock Exchange thing is a tactical thing because I think that they're going to see a lot of fallout due to the Hideo Kojima leaving or
Yes.
being sacked. I don't know which one it is.
Now, speaking of Hideo Kojima, before I go on and speak about Silent Hills and PT being pulled down off the PSN store,
Mhm.
right? Before I go on about that, the developers of Goat Simulator
Hmm.
have actually, they tweeted out, that they've got Hideo Kojima's back, and it was a still shot for the credits of Goat Simulator, and there's Hideo Kojima's name. Now, Hideo Kojima didn't
Yeah, they
work.
added them to the credits.
Yeah, Hideo Kojima didn't work on Goat Simulator. I must make that perfectly clear. He has been working on Silent Hills with Guillermo del Toro and Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. So I've got to make that clear. He didn't in any way, shape, or form.
they've done it. They've done it
But
because obviously his name's been removed from everything that's got Silent Hill or Metal Gear
exactly,
Solid attached to it. So they've just decided, yeah, we'll just put Kojima's name in that.
exactly. The, the thing is, I personally think it's a tragedy that Silent Hill has just been cancelled. I don't think it's a tragedy that Kojima's name has been added to it. If there's any game that ever needs any kind of credibility, it's a simulation game of you being a goat. Kojima's name, lends a aura of credibility to that game. But I personally think it's a downright tragedy that Silent Hills has been
It is. I mean, Hideo Kojima's he's been a massive influence in the games industry for God 3 decades.
Yep,
So
27 years.
it's. I mean, obviously, no one other than the people who were in the meeting when it came to Hideo Kojima and the Konami board are going to know the exact details in and outs. I mean, there are other rumours that are going about that the reason that Hideo either left or he was sacked was because he refused to. He didn't want any more Metal Gear games being made after this one. He wanted to move on to something else.
Yes.
And Konami just wanted to keep milking the cash cow as long as possible because, I mean, Konami for all the decent games that they've ever brought out don't have too many of them. They don't have a large stable of games.
No, but the ones that they do have are successful.
They are successful, but I mean, some of them obviously because of like for instance the Metal Gear games because Hideo Kojima has been instrumental in making them,
Yes.
but he wants to move on and do something else, and Konami don't want that happening. So I don't know if it's Hideo spat the dummy out or thrown his toys out the pram and decided, right, I don't want anything else to do with Konami, and Konami have said, right, well, fine, your name's not going to be on shit. So I don't know if that's what's happened, or maybe he's just decided, right, it's time for me to leave, and because of that, Konami's just like, well, you're not going to get any credibility from us. You're not going to have your name on any of this stuff
Yeah. I mean,
because they
with
didn't want him to leave.
and obviously with a lot of people, especially here in the West, being, shall we say, not so ignorant is the wrong word, but not in not knowledgeable enough about Japanese business practices.
Hmm.
We don't know all the ins and outs. For all we know, uh, Kojima's refusal to do Metal Gear Solid 6 or whatever, we don't know if he'd even been asked to do.
It could easily be a slap in the face to
Like, we could
the
see that
chairman of the board, and
easily.
he's just decided, no, you're gone, and that's it.
Yeah. We just don't know. The tragedy is, I mean, I played and completed PT. I deleted it. I re-downloaded it before it got taken off the PlayStation network, and I sat the night that I completed it. I sat now my house. I had a couple of visitors in, and every single person in my house was scared of that game. Right?
There aren't many games that can claim to scare adults in the way that they have. I mean, this game I unfortunately never got to play it, and by the time that I'd heard about the game being brought down, it was already been removed from um, my
From
storefronts.
the store.
Get it?
Well, I, I'll I'll do a share play with you one night, and you can
Sounds
probably.
good. But I
Oh,
mean,
it's
that's
what
the
a
only other game that I've ever been able to turn. I mean,
wild.
I've played all the horror games, all the old
Yeah.
Resident
And
Evils.
that got me, the cancellation of Silent Hills got me thinking about other games that had been cancelled. Now we touched on Battlefront earlier on,
Hmm.
and for me, I mean, two of the games that would be on my personal list of games that got cancelled that shouldn't have are both Star Wars games.
You're going with 1313.
1313, right? Because I don't know anybody who wouldn't want to play as Boba Fett. I
Exactly,
also don't
exactly.
know any. I also don't know anybody who doesn't want to go and explore the Crimson Corridor.
Hmm.
So
Do you think in this new game that they're going to do the Kessel Run?
they're not in space.
Oh, that's right. See,
They're
that would
not
be that would be a perfect thing for the game.
exactly.
Fighting one from one end to the other of the Kessel Run.
Aye. but they're not going to do it. Well, no, that we know. Of,
Well, see, I was 1313 dropped because Disney took over LucasArts.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly why. Now,
They didn't want to go in that direction with it, or they didn't want to spend that kind of money on it.
I don't know. I don't know. To the best of my knowledge, 1313. From what I know, the story was certainly finished, and the game was well into production when it got cancelled. But another game that was into production, and there's 70 minutes of footage of this game, and it's a Star Wars game on YouTube. Is the original what was originally going to be Battlefront 3.
Right, yeah.
Now, it's just they're just tragic. Tragic that games like that were cancelled. Okay, admittedly, Battlefront 3 was cancelled primarily because the studio that was making it ran out of money. You know,
That was Free Radical that was making that one, wasn't it?
yes. But 1313, I don't know why, Disney or whoever makes the decisions, whether it's Kathleen Kennedy at Lucasfilm or LucasArts, whether I don't know what mad decision was made to can 1313, because all they today really was give it to BioWare and say, fix this.
Yeah, fix was left.
I can't for the life of me see any logical reason for cancelling a game that was near completion. That brings me to another game that I know you have, some personal history with. And
Yeah.
that's Thrill Kill.
Thrill Kill, yeah. The oh,
It's just
this game's actually is legendary though. I mean, the entire game was finished, but the game was originally being made by Virgin Interactive, and I think it was it EA that bought over Virgin Interactive,
I believe it was, yes.
or it was Midway Studios that were developing it, and the publishers were Virgin Interactive, and they were bought over. And I mean, the entire game was finished. The cover art was done. Everything was ready to go. Virgin Interactive and Paradox and that they were quite happily just about to send it out. But the company that bought over Virgin Interactive were like, we're not touching that with a barge pole. We will not go near that game. We are not releasing that game.
And for our listeners, that company was
EA. But I mean, there's reasons they didn't touch it. I mean, the game itself, it did all sorts of fetishism, BDSM, limb dismemberment, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, let's be honest, the Mortal Kombat series has thrived on some of the more hardcore stuff in fighting games, but it was just so much. I mean, I didn't own the game myself, but I did have a friend whose dad was very capable when it came to downloading stuff. So he managed to get a bootleg, because the entire game is online. You can find it and you can play it on the PlayStation 1 if you're good enough to find it. My friend had a copy of it, and I'd played it. And the one thing I take from it is one of the female characters who the game wasn't to get rid of the other players. I think it was a 4-way or a 3-way match that you'd fight in a room, and it wasn't the idea wasn't to get rid of people's health. It was to build up your own rage meter to the point where you lost control and beat the hell out of the other players. So I mean, obviously the one thing that I take away was I had played as a female character, and I think she was a nurse or a maid or something like that. And it was just this, she'd got a rage meter up to the point where she just had this wild orgasmic scream and started tearing the other players to shreds. Oof. And that's the one thing I take away from it, just this wild scream, which is obviously the where they got the name from for Thrill Kill, because it wasn't so much to drop everybody else's health down to zero. It was to get yourself into such a blood rage that you'd murder everybody else in the room. So it was a senselessly violent game. It was slightly disturbing as well. And I mean, over the years, there's been so many games that have been close to being banned or being completely chopped off at the legs just because of the amount of gore and blood in it. Mortal Kombat being one, Grand Theft Auto for another. Those games were tame in comparison.
Yeah, I mean,
So it's
another game that I think, I mean, I don't even think a lot of our listeners will actually, know about this game. But another game was in 2007. They were going to make a Dirty Harry game. Now, who wouldn't want to play Harry Callahan?
oh, that's
Warner Brothers, they wanted the game made, and Warner Brothers themselves wanted it made. You know,
mhm,
and the Developers Foundation 9, they closed in 2007.
mhm.
But Warner Brothers, who were the primary publisher, they said no, but we're going to release it, and then didn't they?
Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, as far as I'd been told about that game, even Clint Eastwood was quite enthusiastic about this game being released.
Yes,
It seemed a lot like a bit between GTA and the LA Noir type games.
yes, yes, exactly. And another game in a similar vein was Getaway 3.
Hmm.
You know, some of these games it genuinely is a 100% tragedy that these games have uh,
Yeah, because there was so much. So I mean,
percolated them in.
that game was pretty much almost complete as well, as far as I remember.
Yes, it was. I mean, some of the still shots that I've
I mean,
seen.
it was being put together for PlayStation 3, and it had originally been intended for PlayStation 4.
Yes, yes, and they were wanting it out that quick, and it just never left the garage, as it were. And to me, that's a genuine 100% tragedy, unless they announce it at E3. But then
Oh well, there's never been any rumblings about that one. So I mean, the team that was making it was Team Soho, and I'm not even sure if they're still trading.
yeah,
Because obviously,
exactly,
I think Sony's they've been merging a lot of their groups recently, so I don't think Team Soho even exists any longer.
exactly, mate, exactly.
And that's the thing. I mean, that's the problem. There's been so many um, development studios over the past decade that have just been dropped because the last game that they made just slightly underperformed. I mean, there was another one. Can't remember the name of it now, but they'd made a racing game, and I think it might have been the Blur games.
Yeah,
And Blur didn't. I mean, this is just conjecture because I actually can't remember, but I think it might have been the one that the developers that made Blur, and it didn't perform as well as they thought it was going to do. So they just the studio just closed.
yep. But and that was a big thing in the with the crash and the economic crash
Hmm.
worldwide. Far too many studios that were making what would have been either great games or games people wanted just couldn't survive.
Yeah,
A lot of them were bought up by
it was
companies
the
like EA.
developers for Blur. I've just checked that up there. It was Bizarre Creations.
Bizarre, was it?
Yeah, who were that were a fantastic studio.
Well, yeah, oh, definitely.
Because I mean,
If a lot of the studios that have,
they'd made a couple of games, but I mean, they had one of the Formula One games, Geometry Wars, the club, James Bond, 007, Bloodstone. But
the club was a good game. I liked that.
mhm. Club was it was a really good game. I mean, they made Project Gotham 4 as well, 2,
Yep.
3, and 4 actually. In
Uh,
fact, all of them. I'm just reading back here. They made all the
did
Project
they make
Gotham
the
games as
original
well.
Project Gotham?
They made all the Project Gotham games.
That's excellent. I didn't know
And
that.
Blur underperformed. Blur, Geometry Wars, and 007 Bloodstone were the last three games that they made. They underperformed, and Sony just canned them.
Hmm, that's strange. Now, as you know, Will, I'm a big Dune fan,
Hmm.
right? The books primarily, uh, but I love the original Dune game. And the last thing I'm going to say in games that were canned that shouldn't have been, uh, is Dune Generations. Now, for those of you that have played the Dune games before, uh, they were primarily a real-time strategy game set on the world of Arrakis, and you played either you participated as either House Carino, House Atreides, or House Harkonnen, battling for the spice melange over the desert world of Arrakis. Now, Dune Generations was taking that real time strategy format a step further by allowing you, the player, to have your own great house. And you would do trades with other houses and this, that, and the other. And it was a massively multiplayer game. I wouldn't say
Hmm.
it's an MMO the way we know MMOs now, which are primarily as RPGs. This was a real time strategy MMO, if you understand what I'm saying.
Hmm.
And it never, ever, ever got finished at all in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Which is a shame because it did show a lot of potential.
Yep,
It really
it,
did.
it truly did. It'd be one of the few PC games that I would probably have got when it came out, and I still have today. To be honest, but that's a personal thing. Uh,
I mean, to the point to the point. I mean, the game was very nearly complete as well. They had trailers and all sorts of stuff ready for it,
yes,
which you can
when
actually
I seen
find
the
on YouTube.
trailers, when I seen the trailers were uh, absolutely brilliant.
Nah, they were beautiful.
They were
The amount of
gorgeous.
work and detail that they had put into each and every one of the units for the games,
Mhm.
for each of the houses as well.
It was gorgeous. It did nothing. There was they never even said, "Oh, we're going to schedule the release for this date or this time" or anything like that. There
Hmm.
was always tentative release dates, and it was always rumors,
Yeah, it was always a to be confirmed, but
and it never got confirmed ever. And it's a tragedy. So if any developers listening, if you want to pick up the June Generations, I'm sure somebody will accommodate you somewhere. Now, what the Dune games and the Dune books, they had a excellent villain in Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. But let me ask you, Will, what would you say is video gaming's number one biggest villain?
video gaming's number one biggest villain. That's really difficult. Um, that is a really hard one. I would see, why would you just throw that? That's a curveball and a half. Villain.
Okay, I'll give you a couple of clues.
Right,
It's invisible and silent.
invisible and silent. Hmm. Nah,
Yet
don't
you
know.
face
Don't
it
know.
in you face it in nearly every game.
The battery's running out in your controller.
No, other than that, no. Mental health.
Mental health. Hmm.
Yes, generally 9 times out of 10, you're playing a game, and the antagonist of the game is a psychopath or a megalomaniac of some description.
Right. Yeah.
Someone who, if they lived in the real world, you they would have some serious, deep mental health psychosis issues. Uh, and generally, your antagonist as well, the person you play, has in some way, shape, or form a what would translate as a mental health issue. You know, uh, for instance, in First Light, the infamous game,
Hmm.
you the antagonist you play is a female, and for want of a better word, you run about and you literally batter people at the speed of light. Because you're looking for your brother. Now, sensibly, you would go to the police first,
Yeah, you'd
superpower
think
or
that.
not. So that some of these antagonists and protagonists have deep-seated mental health issues, and but they don't. Developers and that never think along those lines, and maybe they should. I mean, me myself, I suffer from depression that you know I tend not to let it bother me
Mhm.
on most days, but I do have days where it does get to me, and gaming is an escape for me for that. The whole fun aspect of gaming, not so much to put it to one side. I love the fun aspect of it. I love being able to sit with a group of people, whether it's online or in the house, playing games, having a laugh, that sort of thing. I love
Yeah.
the whole social function of gaming. But the excuse me, the putting that aside, there are days, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners will this will appeal to them. You get frustrated, you build up a rage, that sort of thing. So you'll go into a game like Planet Side 2 or Call of Duty or Battlefield or one of those games and take it out on digital avatars of
Yeah.
people, and you'll shoot them and you'll knife them, you'll blow them up with C4, you'll find funny and amusing ways of dropping tanks on them, things like that. And what what you don't realize when you're doing this is that the person who you're doing it to, they themselves may suffer from a deep-rooted mental health issue. Now, the cause of the mental health issue is irrelevant, whether it be my own depression or you know someone else's, because these things tend to be deep-rooted in childhood and that sort of thing,
Hmm.
which I'm sure you yourself you're aware of.
Yeah, definitely.
The
I suffer the depression myself.
uh, well, you know what I'm saying. So
I do.
sometimes when depression descends, you know, sometimes it manifests itself in a rage. So you take that out on people and the nearest and dearest. Even though during the course, that given day or the given time span, you probably have. And it's just that's one of those things. But when you put a game in and you're in that mood, suddenly you become an invincible killing machine. Uh, or you get frustrated uh, with something, some other psychoses, you know, leads to a very easy level of frustration and and those kind of people they will manifest themselves in games, uh, driving games online where they have to take their frustrations out on instead of a person. Uh, Now, I'm Dave, who has any mental health issues. The way I understand it is that the whole Gamergate thing last year, that wasn't started by a game that is about mental health, but the woman that it all revolved around, she had actually developed a game about mental health, about depression,
Hmm.
and what had happened was, I mean, I'm not going to take up any airtime about Gamergate because I just
No,
find it
that's had enough
stupid.
press over the last year.
I'm not even just talking about press. I'm talking about from the very start. I thought Gamergate was pointless.
It was definitely.
Everybody has got an opinion. Everybody's entitled to an opinion. I I don't. I personally don't agree with the ex-boyfriend or whoever it was airing the dirty laundry.
Yeah,
But
there's. I
you
mean,
understand
it seems to
what he
be
was trying to do.
it's the
The
double-edged
final
sword that
point.
social media is these days. It's just constant. Everybody's airing their dirty laundry where it shouldn't be aired, and she clearly didn't deserve it to be that way. But at the
No,
same time,
exactly.
I mean,
Especially
you
when
don't know
she
the
was
ins and
so.
outs because there's been mudslinging back and forward for a year now. So I mean,
Of course,
everybody needs to move on from it. It's nothing to do with anybody other than the people involved.
exactly. But what she was trying to do initially with the game that led to winning an award that led to the whole Gamergate thing.
Hmm.
She was actually trying to help people because it's a game about depression, and there are other games out there that help people. There's apps for smartphones that are games, and I recently took a course in gamification online,
Hmm.
and I now understand a wee bit better what these developers are trying to do. You know, they're not trying to turn mental health and mental health issues themselves into games. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make people understand what that mental health issue is in the form of a medium that they can relate to,
Yeah.
because they know that the majority of people who play mobile games will and do play console games or PC games.
Hmm.
So
Well,
it's
for,
the fact
for
that,
just for those that don't know what gamification is, it's obviously the concept of applying game design thinking to non-game applications to make m- generally mundane things more fun and engaging.
yeah, that's exactly it. They've found a way of engaging people who suffer from mental health issues in these games. And the lady that Gamergate also rounded, her game was a game about depression. I actually believe it's called Depression. I personally haven't played it, but I now understand what it was that she was trying to do.
Hmm.
She was trying to help people. And I dare say she herself suffers from depression.
Aye, she did, or
Right?
she did. She did in one way or another suffer from some kind of mental health issue.
Yeah. And I believe that gaming, the way gaming paints mental health issues is very one sided. It's always one dimensional.
Hmm.
You know, they're either a megalomaniac psychopath or you're the megalomaniac psychopath. You know,
Yeah, your mental health issues, your extra power type thing.
yes. For the best example of that is Shadow of Mordor,
Hmm.
right? Because if you look at that from as a mental health thing,
Yeah, it seems like schizophrenia. To be fair.
it's schizophrenia. It could be that the guy nearly died and didn't, and his schizophrenia has manifested itself
Aye,
in
there's a second person.
as a second person in the form of an elven lord. I'm not 100% sure because even though I've got the game and it's a brilliant game, I just I've been preoccupied with very beta tests and that sort of thing in other games and trying to get 100% on Lego City Underground. You know, I'm at 99.5% and we've not had it on for a couple of weeks.
Too
I've only
much
got
time in your hands, mate.
I've got two things in the entire game left to collect. I know where one of them is, and the other one's not that hard to find. And I've just not had the time. But getting back to what I was talking about, the mental health. I mean, you yourself, you said you suffer from depression, so
Hmm.
you know exactly what I'm saying. And I know there's been a couple of times, especially when we were playing Defiance, where we both had a bad day, and we
Yeah,
weren't
then
like.
it was. There's something cathartic about being able to get into a game and take out all your frustrations in someone who isn't real, as
Yes.
opposed to someone who, for instance, say someone that I live with. I mean, it would be so easy for me just to direct all my aggression and all my anger and all my frustrations towards my wife or one of my kids, which is something I would never ever choose to do. But depression doesn't really give you that option sometimes. So being able to go in and come in and put the console on and go onto the battlefield and murder some people from the other side of the world and make myself feel better is it's a cleansing experience sometimes when you do that, because you know that you're hurting nobody, you're working through your own issues, and at the end of the day everybody's coming off a lot better for it.
Yeah. I mean, some people. I know gamers who they get what they call in the zone.
Mhm.
Uh, When they get in the zone, they're in the zone. What I've found is that when I get in the zone, no matter what the game is, when I get in that proverbial zone, uh, it tends to be because I'm trying to work something through in my head, or whatever. And that's not to say that I'm a brilliant gamer. There's certain games, I am. There's other games I'm not. Uh, but every one of the games that I play in some way, shape, or form, it helps. Sometimes it could be just the music for the game. The game itself might not be the world's best, but even the music for that game, music that you can't get anywhere else, or you never find anywhere else.
Mhm.
Uh,
Well,
that
that's it. I
alone
mean,
in the game is
just the term.
in my mind, and I find that sometimes that helps, especially a game like, say, Voodoo's Pure Pool
Hmm.
or Hustle Kings. The especially Pure Pool. I love the soundtrack to that game, and I find it very relaxing. The jazz soundtrack. Uh, with Spotify being introduced in the PlayStation 4, I've got access to a ton of music that I can play while I'm playing games. And yeah, I don't find myself doing that. I find myself going back and playing playing the games that help me, when I've had a tough day, or when I'm feeling very down,
Hmm.
or that sort of thing. And I think there's a lot of people out there, and I know at least one person who is a gamer who does have mental health issues. I'm not going to say what they are, and I'm not going to say who he is. Uh, but what I am saying is that I understand to a limited extent what it is that a lot of gamers are going through,
Hmm.
and I just hope anybody who suffers from any mental health issues who listens to this understands themselves that gaming, and even people who don't play games, gaming can help you. As Will says, it can be very cathartic. You can release tension. You can relax. Uh, the, to me, that's the appeal. That's what that helps the mental health side. But get the developers don't deliberately set out to do that. That's just an organic thing, and it's also down to the the individual as well. If that's the way that it relaxes you, or eases off the pressure, so to speak, then that's what it's that's what it does, and that's just my opinion about it. Uh, we, we will be talking in the future more on mental health and gaming. I just I just want developers to start considering this, and maybe making it part of the plot of some of these games.
Hmm.
You know, uh, but I really believe that that's all we've got time for. I could talk all night on this subject. Uh, you know, but it's, to me, gaming can help mental health issues to a limited extent, because the individual's got their own responsibility to help themselves as well.
Hmm.
You know, uh, but we're going to have to cut this short now. And first up, I'd like to thank you for joining us, Rocket Jump.
Yeah,
It's
not a problem.
it's been a
Is it possible to leave your listeners with one more idea for possibly E3 or just gaming in the future?
yes,
Right,
yes, fire
this
away.
is a theory that I've been putting together for a while now. It's regarding Pokemon. Now, obviously, you get for for each Pokemon the game comes out, it tends to be two different games. For say for the first generation, it was Red and Blue, and after Red and Blue was released, Yellow was released. After that, you had Gold and Silver, which the third game in that series became Platinum, and Ruby and Sapphire after that, which had Emerald as the third title. And now we're on X and Y. So I'm of the belief that the next Pokemon game that's going to be released will be Pokemon Z or Z, depending on where it is in the world you're from. So there's something to think on.
Yeah,
Because it works.
that's
It
actually
works in theory.
that's actually a pleasant thought to end on. Is mental health is a it can be at times a very dark subject.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Indeed.
Pokemon Z, that sounds based upon what you're saying. That actually sounds quite credible. You know,
Yeah, it's
unlike,
possible.
unlike
It's
s- unlike
possible.
some of the rumors that we're bound to hear.
Yeah.
Half-Life 3 episode 3 is getting released. That sort of thing. Anyway, Again, thanks for joining us, Rocket Jump.
Very
It's
welcome.
been a
Anytime.
pleasure as always. And I hope you listeners don't forget about Glitch Live uh, after E3, which is the first major European Call of Duty tournament after it with a grand prize of €10,000. Uh, I've been your host, Richard McMillan. This has been the Console Agnostics LAN Party podcast. Thanks for joining us.